One Miyazaki weight unit. One Miyazaki is the average weight difference between Dark Souls in 2016 to Dark Souls 1 in 2011.
The introduction of paired weapons, such as the Drang Hammers, and absolutely massive weapons, such as the Fume Ultra Greatsword and Leto's Great Hammer, has increased the weight margin by a measurable amount, a weight margin that reflects how large weapons can get upon design.
Those weights rarely exceed 6.7 Miyazakis. Weapon categories such as the Ultra Greatswords and the Great Hammers were expanded over the years to allow for much larger weapon designs than originally intended. The different weapons across the Souls games are thought-provoking. But let me ask you, how big is your weapon?
For example, Smo's Great Hammer is graphically the largest weapon in Dark Souls 1. The weapon is notorious for being so big, it takes up half the screen when wielding it.
Assuming that the average player is 5 foot 11 inches, which is pretty tall, might I say.
Smo's Great Hammer is roughly 6 foot 4 inches tall and nearly 3 feet wide. It would remain this way for over 3 years until we finally got around to making something bigger.
With 2014's release of Dark Souls 2, we made something even bigger. The Giant Warrior Club. The Giant Warrior Club is over 7 feet long and nearly as wide as Smo's Great Hammer.
Does that mean that the Giant Warrior Club is the biggest weapon in the Dark Souls series?
A weapon is an object wielded in the left or right hand and used in combat.
This includes shields, catalysts, talismans, flames, bows, and crossbows.
Anything less than that would be a non-combatant object or passive item. The Giant Warrior Club would remain the largest weapon in Dark Souls until later on in 2014 with the August release of the Old Iron King DLC.
There was an NPC added to the game called the Iron Warrior. They have a chance to drop the rare weapon called the Smelter Hammer.
From Software pulled out all the stops when it came to designing the big, bad chicken drumstick. The Smelter's Hammer is over 8 feet in length and well over 3 feet in width at the barrel of the weapon. Yes, I'm using the term barrel. To this day, the Smelter Hammer is still the record holder in terms of sheer volume.
This Smelter Hammer would have been the first weapon so large that you cannot power stance 2 of them.
The good fellows over at From Software went in and made a deliberate hard-coded change to allow you to power stance 2 of these, even though it should take 105 strength to wield.
2016's Dark Souls 3 took a swing at the crown of Dark Souls 2. Leto's Great Hammer
Got close to the size, but still it didn't beat the Smelter's Hammer.
Even if we look at future titles such as Elden Ring, the Giant Crusher is the only thing that comes close to the Smelter Hammer, and it's still smaller. Another feather in the cap for Dark Souls 2. Overall volume is not the only thing that makes something big though. From a reach standpoint, the Ivory King Ultra Greatsword takes the crown. The two-handed attack shoots a beam that deals pure magic damage.
It extends to over 13 feet in length, once again assuming that we have a 5 foot 11 inch character model.
Not all weapons are going to have special movesets though. Let's compare something a little bit more tangible. Weapon arts.
Dark Souls 3 weapon art, Charge Forth, features a 12-foot reach. This is unparalleled when it comes to other weapon arts.
In terms of true maximum reach, this one goes to Dark Souls 3's Great Lance.
The Great Lance is able to hit targets a staggering 12 feet, 2 inches away.
This is because the Great Lance can abuse the square cube law that the other previous weapons were bound by.
The square cube law is a mathematical principle that as you increase the surface area of any object, aka the width and height, the volume exponentially increases. If we take something like the Great Lance, it's a skinny item, so as you start extending the height, it's not as impacted by the volume standpoint like the more rotund predecessors we were talking about.
The Demon's Spear from Dark Souls and the Washing Pole from all 3 games come close, but nothing quite has the reach of the Great Lance from Dark Souls 3. But ultimately, in terms of how big a weapon's reach is, Dark Souls 2 Ivory King Ultra Greatsword takes this one.
More glazing for the Dark Souls 2 donut.
You may have noticed, many times these larger weapons are not as easy on the eyes.
They tend to be a little rocky, maybe a little rusty,
And overall, like a rough, crude weapon.
If we start talking about a big weapon being a big file on your hard drive, the results are concerning.
While the Smelter's Hammer is graphically big, the uncompressed raw file for this weapon is only about 1100 kilobytes.
Dark Souls 3 brings much more weapon detail into the fold, with 3D models and particle effects associated with the weapons. Weapons such as Frida's Great Scythe
packs nearly 6 times the file size the Smelter Hammer does, coming in at 6.5 megabytes.
This is due to the fact that not only are they technically 2 weapons packed into one, each one contains high geometric meshes and unique textures. Now, you might be thinking, Frida's Greatscythe has got to be the biggest file size, right? Wrong.
Dark Souls 3's Crow Quills from the Ashes of Arendel's DLC
Comes in at a whopping 7.2 megabytes. That's because it has the same thing going on that Frida's Greatscythe does. It's 4 weapons built into one.
They got all sorts of fun stuff like quill housing, physical nesting states, and lots of polygons for each of the crow feathers. What if we measured big by impact?
On paper, with all 99 stats, Dark Souls 2 Dark Sacred Chime Hammer comes in at a staggering 875 attack rating at the +5 upgrade level.
But it's split damage with the dark damage type. If we compare pure physical damage,
The legendary Crystal Demon's Great Axe +5
from Dark Souls 1 takes the cake.
coming in at 767 attack rating. Nothing else in the Soul series beats it.
The Black Knight Great Axe +5 from Dark Souls 3 comes close at 750 attack rating, but does not beat the Crystal Demon's Great Axe +5.
I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you for all the support, and I'll see you all around.